Oscar Wilde once said, "Experience is the name we give our mistakes." Welcome to McBain Moments. Alright everyone, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Manor. Make sure you take a moment and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Experience. We hear the term thrown around a lot, especially in the workplace, and in most careers, it is one of the most important things you can have. There's a level of experience that you get by working in field that beats any form of formal training program or degree, because not only have you had the formal instruction, or even if you don't have the formal instruction, if you've actually been in the trenches doing it, you're going to have a practical knowledge that exceeds the academic knowledge. Now, does that mean that one is more important than the other? Only in a slight sense. This is most prevalent in the programming field, where you'll see the degree is important for the entry level, but when you get up to the higher levels, they just want experience. They don't actually declare for a degree, which is kind of interesting, because, but the reason is because there was a long time where there was no degree program for it. And so the question is, well, how do you break in? Well, sometimes there's apprenticeship programs, or sometimes you find an opportunity. That's how I ended up in finances. I was headhunted out of grocery because they needed someone and I had the drive. You know, when you work a 33-hour shift and you still manage to make your deposit like you're supposed to, someone is going to notice. So there are opportunities from time to time that don't require that barrier for entry be met. You know, there's sometimes a door that you can walk through that's kind of off there to the right. But what is experience generally? Because that's the thing that really gets people. Experience is the name we give our mistakes. There's an old saying, I come from the school of hard knocks. And what that literally means is, I learned by doing and screwing it up. I learned by doing and screwing it up. And that's how a lot of us learn. Is it necessarily the best method of learning? No. It's far better to learn from someone else's mistakes than learn from your own. But for most of us, we don't learn until we make the mistake. It's like, oh, I really screwed that up. And you have to be willing to say, oh, I really screwed that up. Because if you aren't able to accept the responsibility for your mistakes, you're just going to keep making them. And then it's not experience anymore. Experience is not only making the mistake, but understanding what caused the mistake and taking responsibility for it, and then correcting for it. Sigmund Freud said that being honest with yourself is a good exercise. And when you make mistakes and you get that experience, that's the time to use that exercise. You know, you got to put yourself together. You got to manage to look at the things that you did that may not have been the most proper method of doing things, the things that caused you to get set back, the things that caused you to be not where you wanted to be, and say, okay, these are the X number of mistakes. Let's just say 7 for the sake of this particular. These are the 7 mistakes I made. Here are the 7 things I should have done that would have gotten me to my goal, or closer to my goal, by this point. Okay, how do I prevent myself from repeating those mistakes? And then, is there any way for me to make up for those mistakes, even if it's not all 7 of them? Maybe it's only 4 of them. Can I make up for those mistakes so that I can catch up to where I wish I was now, where I believe I should have been now? Can I catch up so that I can soon be closer to that original goal in a much faster fashion than where I'm going now? Because if you're spinning your wheels, are you really getting anywhere? And so you have to take the time to really look through your actions and determine what experiences you had that will help you make that next step of progress. There's the there's the saying that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. I'm pretty sure that's a Peña-ism. You got to keep moving forward, because you're either advancing or you're retreating. There's no stagnation. There's no standing still. It's advance or retreat. I mean, there can be holding periods, and they're usually temporary. They have to be temporary, because if you hold in place for more than a certain length of time, you start pedaling, moving backwards just because of, well, frankly, not to put too fine a point on it, because of inflation. But the fact of the matter is when you start to settle, you start to lose the drive that got you to where you were to begin with. And then you start making mistakes. You get lazy. Because you're not trying to push forward anymore. You're satisfied. And then all of a sudden you make a critical mistake and you get set back. And you're like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. But it's because you didn't learn from your experiences. Now, of course, there are always outside forces. There is always going to be some outside force that is going to set you back. It's going to happen from time to time. That setback could last you a year or two. This is something that I had to learn the hard way. That doesn't mean you stop. That doesn't mean you just accept. You look at what the setback is. You say, okay, I have an obstacle I do not know how to surmount yet. I will take the time to figure out how to overcome this obstacle. And it might take me time. But my goal is still my goal. And I'm going to get there. This has been a McBain moment.